welcome to the Congo
Why
Hour.
would
Thank
you tell me that when
so
we're opening
much
up?
for tuning in. My name is Trippi. I'm joined this evening with Waynna, and we have an exciting show, an informative show
Yes.
playing for you this evening. There's a lot to talk about, Waynna, a lot going on in the city. We have Wilmington's next mayor, Velda Jones-Potter, coming to talk about why we should all support her in her upcoming campaign. She's going to go over how we can support her, why we can support her. So I'm looking forward to that conversation. What's going on in your life, Waynna's world?
A lot, to be honest with you, yeah.
Like what? Talk to me.
But before I go into my world,
Okay.
Cousin Leah called me, and Thursday was Rock Your Socks to support Down syndrome.
Okay.
And I have our socks to put on.
You do?
Yes.
You were hiding them?
I was hiding them here. So you got to put them on now.
You said our, okay.
Because I have some too.
Okay.
So you have to put them on now.
Okay, definitely want to support the cause.
Yeah, so it was Thursday,
Rock Your Socks.
the 21st,
That is.
and World, says it's World Down Syndrome
right,
Day.
Right, so we definitely want to show our support in any way that we can
Yes.
to bring awareness.
You remember we did this last
Dude,
year?
it's been a year, huh?
Yeah, it's been a year already. Wow.
Oh, wow, so we've been on a year?
We've been on a year.
That's terrible.
Trippy.
Well, that's good.
We should have had a
I know we
celebration.
forgot. That's terrible, we forgot, but it's great to be back. I mean, that we've been back a year.
Trippy. It's been a year.
It's been over a year.
It's been over a year.
They came, I think we started in March, so they came like right when I think we must have started in February. Cause it seemed like, did we do this twice a year? They only do this once a year?
It's once
It's
a
only
year.
been a year.
It's been a year.
Wow, so we are rocking our socks in support of Down syndrome. Lena has hers on, I have mine on. So definitely want to give a shout out to Cousin Leah,
Yes.
who takes care of her nephew who has Down syndrome, my little cousin who has Down syndrome.
Yes.
So I want to thank her and everybody out there who supports those who have Down syndrome, supports the cause, raises awareness, keeps everyone aware, raising money.
Yeah, we're going to show, she gave me some information that's very informative to share what Down syndrome is.
Okay.
It also shared, a lot of people say Downs syndrome when it's just down. So there's a lot of information that we're going to be showing, probably while we're talking, or they're going to show it at the end.
All right, so
But
we
great
definitely have to give a shout out, to one of our greatest supporters, Mark,
Yes.
who has Down syndrome, and he reminded me of Rock Your Socks last time we talked, but it's just totally.
Right. He was here when we wore him last year.
He was.
Yeah.
He was, and then he.
And that wasn't even planned.
I talked to him last week, and he was saying how it was coming up, but it slipped my mind.
Okay.
It didn't even like hit me that we've been back on for a year.
I know.
Wow. So we definitely want to thank DETV. Want to thank everyone who has shown us so much love and support for the last year of our return to the Congo Hour and to Channel 28.
Yes.
It's been really good being back in your homes and on your
phones, laptops.
Your laptops. So
desktop.
again, if you ever want to be a part of the show, if you ever want to give us any criticism, if you ever want to let us know how we can do better, if you want to give us some props of things that we are doing well, how can they reach us, Waynna?
They can call me. And what's my
Okay.
number, Trippy?
I'm gonna give you the first 6 is 302-521. I know it's a 7, and I know it's a 9.
No 9.
No 9.
302-521-7325.
7325.
Why can't you get
I do
it
not know
right?
why. Give me like 3 more weeks. I'm gonna get it. 7325. I got it.
Yes.
7325. And it's funny because we get so used to just throwing everybody's numbers and names that we don't know numbers anymore. My dad,
He knows everybody's
he knows
number.
everybody's number. He probably knows.
He has a scientific way of
He
remembering the
does,
numbers.
but he does not store anyone's number. And I think that's what's kind of keeping him sharp because he's forcing himself to remember numbers.
Yeah.
And when he meets new people, he forces himself to remember their numbers too. It's pretty amazing. You know, he'll be 86 next month.
Yes.
And for him just to be able to rattle off people's numbers the way he does.
And I can't even remember.
Yeah, right, so we're so used to just the phone was taking care of it for us.
I just realized I only had one earring
Yeah, I
on.
was going to say that, but I didn't want to say it.
So this is Rocky earring.
Rocky earring, okay, all right. Yeah, so it's been a year. Wow.
I'm gonna have to go back to see exactly when we started.
Okay.
And we're gonna have to have some type of celebration.
Yeah, we do. We have to put something together over the next few weeks.
You mean I have to put something
yes,
together?
Yes, and I'll just show up late, and then I'll celebrate. We can both celebrate.
We'll have light hors d'oeuvres.
What do you think we should do more of this year than we did last year?
As far as the show is
like
concerned?
where do you think we kind of fell short?
I honestly
we
think
can
like this year
improve?
is one of our best years being on. I think it's been more informative.
Okay.
It's been, yeah, we've had, in my opinion, we're doing better than we ever have before.
So that's the question that we have for all of you. Where do you think that the Congo, how do you think that the Congo Hour can improve over last year? What can we do better for the next year?
Meaning
again,
like what topics?
Yeah, what kind of topics, guests, yeah, topics and guests, and what kind of information that we can bring to everyone.
Okay.
Okay, all right. I guess one of the things where I think I definitely want to do a better job of, well, you know, it's election season, so people are going to start campaigning, so I want to make sure that we are informing our audience of all of the candidates and why we should support them, and just getting involved, you know, just kind of getting involved in politics and getting involved in your neighborhood associations, like you were just mentioning.
Civic
before we came on, and not leaving it to people who are elected.
Correct.
You know, it's a really good feeling to know that I have been elected and reelected a few times, but it's a better feeling when I walk into council chambers and that chambers is packed because people are showing up. That's a really, really good feeling. Like I never get, even if it's something that I may not necessarily agree with, like it's still a good feeling knowing that the community is showing up for whatever reason they're showing up for.
Right.
So, you know, I want to do a better job of keeping people up to date with council matters, and, you know, telling them when to show up by asking them, you know, when to show up.
We kind of started that, but we fell off.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure that
yeah,
we
that's
are,
something we can do
whatever is
better.
coming up on our agendas, that we're talking about it, maybe discussing it beforehand so people know.
Like the
and
water
they can,
bill?
And they can show, right. So they can show up and just give input. We have public comment before every council meeting where we invite the public to come and talk about pretty much whatever is on their mind. And then we have committee meetings where different legislation is discussed with council members. And then we also give the public an opportunity to come to those committee meetings that are held at 5 o'clock, just to kind of give input on legislation before it gets to the council meeting, before we take a vote. So I definitely want to do a better job of keeping you informed of when those meetings are, so that you can help us.
That'd be great.
Help us to help you.
Right.
You know, so. What else is going on? Nothing? No?
Oh, yeah, we talked about it.
Right.
I am definitely running for city council at large.
Okay, somebody asked me that last week.
They
They were
did.
like, is Waynna running? I'm like, I don't know.
That's because you got to do better with communicating with me.
I accept that.
Okay.
That's all-
Because you
okay.
would have known. I didn't want
I know,
to
but
text it to
I felt
you.
some kind of way. I'm like, because this person just knew that I would know, and I felt kind of crazy not knowing. I was like, I don't know, but I'm going to see her in a little bit.
Did you say you've been away? Did you say you don't return her calls or text
Nah,
messages?
I didn't know. I just said she's been really busy, so she hasn't had an opportunity to tell me. So I'm gonna find
It's
out.
been
I'm
the
gonna
other
find out
way
right
around.
now. So you
So
are running
yes.
for council, city council at large.
Yes.
Why?
Well, one of my biggest reasons is I've been involved in the Vanderbilt Avenue Civic Association for over 12 years.
Okay.
And I've been the chairperson of the 3rd District Neighborhood Planning Council. And I realized the importance of being involved in your community. And I believe that a council person should already be involved with the civic associations as well as their neighborhood planning council. There's a lot of great information that comes out of our meetings.
Like what? What is a civic association? Like, what is that?
So a civic association is an organization where people come together that's in that specific area. So for example, I'm a part of the Vanderbilt Avenue Civic Association.
Okay.
There's the 11th Street Bridge Civic Association. So we just had a meeting on yesterday, so I'm sorry, this is Sunday.
Right.
We had a meeting on Tuesday. So every third Tuesday we meet and come together. Captain Akil comes on to share what's the report that's going on, crime, police report in our neighborhood. We get a chance to share with him what we would like the police officers to do. Like, for example, one of our constituents wants them to get out the car and be more involved, not just sit in the car with the lights on. So we talked about that. What else did we talk about yesterday? We talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about like tractor trailers just leaving their cars down on like East 14th Street. I mean, leaving their trailers there, and what can be done about that. Talked about, you know, the safety issues involved.
That's really, that's actually, there's a law against that. It just needs to be enforced.
Right.
Got to give a shout out to former Councilman Mike Brown, who brought that before council several years ago, because that was a concern of a lot of different civic associations, a lot of different residents in the city, that, you know, tractor trailers were being left just on the street.
Right.
So there's a law against it. We just have to make sure that the police department enforces it.
Correct.
Yeah. So you said you've been involved in your civic association for how long?
It's been 13 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. How do you think how's the attendance at the civic association meetings?
It's kind of dwindling down because it was more older people. Some of our members have passed away.
Okay.
But those that have, a lot of them that started out in the beginning are very active.
That's good.
We have to do a better job at reaching out to new residents.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to bring up.
Yeah, younger people with ideals. So yeah.
Yeah, with the ideas, the energy, because being on council, civic associations who are organized and have are very well attended, have a lot of members, they really can get things done.
Yes.
Yeah, they can really move the needle on what they want in their neighborhood. So if a civic association isn't as strong, sometimes they're not as heard, unfortunately.
Right.
But the ones who are strong and ones who show up. You know, there's a saying that says the world is run by the people who show up.
Yes.
So the ones who show up, they really can get things done.
That's
so
so
definitely
true.
want to encourage you to find out what civic association you belong to and find out when they meet, find out what time they meet, and go and bring somebody with you.
Yeah.
It's really important, especially for our younger generation. Like, so if you're older and you're watching this, make sure that you bring somebody, bring your child or bring your grandchild or your niece or your nephew or your neighbor who is maybe a little younger, so they can kind of get involved and begin to understand how politics works.
Yeah.
It's very important.
When I worked with the Congresswoman, I would go to different civic associations to hear the needs of the civic associations. And you're right, some civic associations had dozens of people that come out, and then some might just have a handful.
Right.
And those that have the dozens was making things happen. So
yeah,
yes.
definitely.
Yeah.
So you've been involved with your civic groups, you've been involved with the NPC, and you decided to run.
Yes.
For council.
Yeah, so, I mean, remember I ran before, my very first time, and I came in fourth. I'm supposed to it's the first three people for the Democratic Party. And I came in fourth, and it wasn't it was just a few votes shy of being third. And I think I felt really good because there were people that had ran before that I did better during that election. Right.
So why do you think people should support you as a council member at large?
One, because I'm already involved. And although I live in the 3rd district, I've been extremely involved in throughout the community, even with you, with doing the seniors. Yeah, Gundy and I also, we used to do Moyer Academy closed, but we used to host annual holiday events.
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
the people in the 3rd District would come out, we would feed them, we would give them resources. So I've been involved in the community. So
I think one of the most important reasons why somebody should support you, why this community should support you, is because I think that you are going to be your own person, your own individual. So if I'm fortunate enough to make it as president, if Velda is fortunate enough to make it as mayor, I think that if we agree, we agree. But I think if I don't think that you would agree with something just because it's me or just because
and we
it's
don't
Velda.
always agree,
Right.
so let's make that clear.
Right, so I think that's very important. That's something that is missing in politics, is that sometimes, well, a lot of times we let friendships and relationships get in the way.
Right.
And I think that's where we start to lose, the community starts to lose faith in us.
Right.
So I do believe that you're a person that if you think that we should go left and I'm saying we should go right, you're not going to say, okay, that's Trippi, that's my brother, I'm going to go right.
Right.
I think you're going to say, nah, I want to go left, and this is why I want to go left.
Yeah, and it's not, I know what you're saying, I know what you mean. I think it's really important, that's another reason why I want to run, is because a lot of council people will say, well, I talked to my constituents, and they really didn't talk to their constituents.
Right, that's true.
And they're voting their personal way and not the way that they're representing the
goodness.
community. So
I cannot count the amount of times that has happened just in the last 4 years, last 3 years as me being council president, is that council members have not represented their communities.
Right.
And that's extremely frustrating, it's disheartening. And it's just like I think they let relationships and friendships come in between themselves and the community.
Right.
I don't think that you would do that. Another reason that I think that the community should support you, Waynna, is because Velda Jones-Potter, when she's our next mayor, she's going to need a council who supports her and who has the community's best interests in their hearts. So it's one thing for her to win, but if she has 13 council members who don't agree on her methodology, on the way in which how she thinks that the city should be run, it's going to be very hard for her. And I think that I know your heart and I know her heart, and I think that the more council members that can be aligned, not blindly aligned, of course,
Right.
so I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea, but be aligned in how we want our community to be better. I think we can really make a big difference in our city.
most definitely.
So it's one thing to you can have a strong council. You can have a council who kind of thinks alike, but if the mayor is thinking differently, things won't move as fast as they could.
Right.
But with Ms. Velda in there, I believe with you on council, with some other people who I know are community oriented and will keep that first and foremost, I think our city will be much better off in the next 4 years.
I've been getting great responses from those that I shared with. Some are former senators that ready to support me, so really excited about that. And so I did open up a account. It's Waynna for Wilmington.
Okay.
And I am asking for donations, and you can give me a call directly at 302-521-7325, and I can share with you how you can donate.
Okay. All right.
So I'm excited.
I am too.
I am. So on that note, you want to take a quick break so we
Yes.
can bring the next mayor over?
Yep, let's do that.
All right.
We'll be right back.
DETV has been Delaware's premium provider of creative digital and broadcasting solutions that bridges communities and connects people. We create great stories for all audiences. We deliver independent news throughout Delaware. We are digital platform innovators. And we develop marketing and sales solutions so you can stay connected to your audience. Now, why do we do what we do here on DETV? We do it because we care. So, Keep watching and follow us on all of our social media platforms. Remember, DETV, online, on air, on time.
Good evening and welcome back to the Congo Hour. Before we go to our guest, I want to thank our team for looking out for us. I had one earring on, and then it says it wasn't really noticeable when I was sitting over here, but when I came over here, it was like very noticeable. So, cut. Yeah, like stop. So I'm earringless.
That's okay. I am too. So. We're matching.
You hear Dennis laughing at you. All right. So we're going to, I'm excited because we just finished talking and it kind of, everything's coming together. So yeah. Welcome back to the Congo Hour.
Thank you.
Yes,
You're welcome.
Good to be here.
How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Okay.
Good.
I mean, busy, but it's going so well.
I see some
Yeah.
billboards
Excited.
popping up
Yes.
all throughout the city.
Yeah.
Billboards popping up. We have a couple of events coming up this Saturday and beyond. So things are moving along very
All right, so
well.
let's rewind because we don't want to assume that
people know.
just
Okay.
automatically-
But I
right,
always
right.
want to know, because I care, I want to know how she was doing
Okay.
prior to us going into what she's doing.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
I guess that was me who jumped the gun. I was like, yeah, I see billboards. People might be like, billboards for what? You know. So,
That's okay.
All right. So why are you here, Miss Velda? Yeah, why are you on the Congo Hour this evening?
Well, aside from just the fact that I love both of you, and
Aw.
anytime I can be with you, it's a bit more.
What?
I didn't say anything.
Whispering.
Aside from that, of course, I'm a candidate for mayor of the city
Okay.
of Wilmington.
All right.
And my team and I are, just busy at work, meeting people in the community, getting our message out, making phone calls.
Okay.
And I'm just really excited about the response. I think people are really ready
Oh, absolutely. Why
for
mayor?
something different. Why mayor?
All right.
Well, I, as you know, and hopefully much of the public knows, I've served in other capacities as treasurer for the state of Delaware, and then more recently, treasurer for the city of Wilmington. And while those roles were great, and I loved the nature in which I was serving, what I found was I really wasn't able to impact the course of things with the city from that role.
Right.
And I felt that so much change was needed, that just a whole different approach in leadership for the city. An approach that focused more on people, showed more care and concern for lifting people in the policies that we have and in the way we allocate resources. And I couldn't do that from the treasurer's role.
Right.
And
Very
I
true.
just felt and still feel so strongly that we have got to make those changes that I stepped forward to run for mayor.
Okay. All right.
So one of my, as you heard me talking about civic associations and neighborhood planning councils, tell me your view on how you feel about the civic associations and neighborhood planning councils.
I believe that the Wilmington, I don't know what other cities have, but Wilmington having the structure that we have, I feel that's one of the areas that we're blessed with, frankly, that we have that kind of infrastructure in place, a way in which people from the community can engage and have, if allowed, very direct input into what their community needs and how it evolves. So from someone who is going to be in a leadership role of the city and charged with, kind of charting the direction we're going to go, as far as I'm concerned, I couldn't ask for a better way systematically to get that input and engage, have citizens engaged. So I think the civic associations, the neighborhood planning councils, I think that structure is essential to people having a way to have a voice, that it's orderly, it's structured, it's been in place for some time. But the real question is, are the civic associations and the neighborhood planning councils really engaged and allowed to do what they are really there to do? And I think that's all a function of whether or not our city government, or the administration and council, empower and allow them to do that. And I think it's important to do that, and I'm looking forward to it.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
great.
very important. Very
Great,
important.
yes.
It's you know, it's so, it can be so easy if council members, if leaders in government just listen. You know, because we have people who are from the neighborhoods who have been raised and are raising their families and know, like they know what they need. And when they come to us telling us what they need, when we go to them asking them what they need, like we need to listen. And it can it should be just a seamless process. You know, you have neighbors and they make up the civic groups, and then these civic groups can say, hey, Trippi, hey, Waynna, hey, Velda, this is what we need. And we're supposed to listen, because we go and campaign and say we're going to listen. So once we get into office, we can't just turn our backs on them. And some council members really have that down to a science. They really understand how important it is to listen to the people who put them there. And some don't.
Yeah, the people, and block by block, row by row, are in and out of their homes. They're hopefully walking around the community, you know, engaging with each other. So they know and see firsthand where the deficiencies are, where the opportunities are to make it better. Whether it's something as basic as street lighting and beautification, or if there's something going on like a pattern of behavior that's forming in certain properties or whatever, nobody knows that first and better than the people who live there.
That's so true.
And we, like you say, need to listen to that and then be responsive to it. And I don't think that's hard. I mean, to me, that's like natural, that's normal, unless you feel you have all the answers and you don't need to hear from the community. Then that's a different story. And, you know, leaders who behave that way, I think don't do a good job on behalf of the people that they're there to serve.
So you said one of your passions, one of your reasons for running for mayor is that you want to be more people focused. What does that mean?
So I've been spending a lot of time, and as you know, the Almighty would have it, has been taking me places in these months that I've been out campaigning and talking and learning and listening, in spaces where there are populations of people who have really been left out. People who are on their second chance cycle. They've been through the criminal justice system. They're trying to acclimate themselves back into the community. People who have been in addiction and they're looking for help or have come through that process. People who are unemployed but want to work. And so what that looks like is having our policies and our practices in the city government that support creating opportunity that addresses some of those problems, those situations. Whether it's, in some cases, it's advocating and lobbying and just really insisting with state government that the services the state has responsibility for steps up and delivers to our city what we need for education, health and social services, those sort of things. Where business opportunities our policies reflect those opportunities being made available and access to those not only for large businesses, which of course are important, but also for small businesses and entrepreneurs and people who work with their hands, artisans, and you know, people who need apprenticeship training and things like that. So I think it's that's what I see.
Okay.
That to me is investing in people, and while we also obviously maintain our facilities and our infrastructure and all of those other things that are critical for a vibrant city, but it's coming from a place of caring first and foremost, and then it's delivering those, it's managing the government in a way that reflects that, that is equitable. So if there are, I don't know, if there's some opportunity that the government, the city is making available, that process is equitable so that all people who have the skill set are able to vie. So that there aren't barriers in some of the offices and departments, license and inspection, and where permits are issued, where those processes are handled in a way that small businesses it's as easily accessed for them as it is for large businesses. Those kinds of things.
Okay, I can probably give you an inside tip.
Okay.
As far as I see a lot of constituents, a lot of businesses extremely frustrated with the way the infrastructure is set up now with the city of Wilmington, as far as having access and being able to communicate with the different, you probably know this because you were there, just being able to communicate with those who provide city services. So I think that just needs a huge overhaul on our response to the people who hire us and to the people who elected us and voted us in, and to the people who pay our salaries. Because there's just so much frustration around, you know, they're calling the city and just can't get in touch with anybody. Or there are just instances where, like, just no one is responding, and all they want to do is maybe pay a bill or figure out why their bill is so high, or they just want to talk to somebody. So I know that will be one of your priorities, just to make sure that we are, you know, communicating with the people who we're supposed to be, you know, to the people who hired us.
That's one of the things that we talk about at the civic associations, as well as the neighborhood planning council, exactly that.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, like, that is the basic. If we can't do that well, then I mean, shame on us. How can we ever expect to do any of the other things well?
Right. That's just
and yeah, it is. It's very, very basic. But there has to be an expectation from the leader within city government that you know, that establishes. First, you kind of get your house in order, and your house is inside City Hall. So establishing the understanding and the clarity of what our philosophy is with engaging with the people that we're here to serve. And I think that's the key thing, is we're here to serve. And that means answering the phone timely, being courteous, being respectful.
Yes, being courteous.
All of those things.
Don't get me started on that one, please.
All of those things. But I will tell you, having worked in leadership in a variety of different places, in the private sector, in a small business, and previously in government, but anywhere where you have an organization or a group of people, so much of how they behave, how they act, how they communicate is almost subconsciously a function of the culture that the leader establishes. They may not even realize that they're sort of drifting into, you know, maybe less attentive, maybe a little less responsive. But if that leader isn't creating a culture and an environment in that organization that fosters that rewards that, and frankly, that treats those people inside the organization well, treat them with respect.
So I do want I gotta say this because I've witnessed that personally, that those that are in government, like they don't speak to you or they give you this like I'm better than you kind of vibe. Like you're there to serve, and there should be, you shouldn't feel like you're bigger than someone else, and that's the vibe that I get with this one particular person that is in a high position.
And when that's the attitude of someone in a high position, it's like a domino effect. You have an impact on. So if you're being treated like that as a as a citizen coming in, the people who work within that organization are likely being treated that way as well. And when you're in the organization and you're not treated well, you're not respected, you feel like you don't matter, it can be, and I'm not making an excuse for people within an organization, but it can be, it affects the way you then interact with each other and then with other people. So it really
setting the culture.
It's changing the culture, and it starts with treating people within that structure with respect and celebrating, the good behavior and helping them know the principles and values with which we're going to operate, and then watch that percolate out into how they interact with people. When they feel good about how they're treated, they're going to treat and interact well also. That's been my experience. And I
so you're right on.
Right, you shared off of the set that you were endorsed by a group, which I really got excited, like my spirit jumped inside because they're very dear to me, and I think that we need to do more better when it comes to them. So who you get endorsed by?
I received the endorsement on Saturday from the Veteran Services organization.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I am so excited by it. The leader of the organization is Joe Walls. He is so committed to their mission of helping veterans as they're returning home or as they're coming out of, unfortunately, the kind of situations that the trauma that they experiences all too often lead to incarceration or substance abuse situations, homelessness. All of those things are real serious challenges for our veterans, and
it shouldn't be.
They should not be.
Not at all.
No.
Yeah, that is so.
Not at all.
I can't understand.
It's disheartening to
why
me.
we treat
It really is.
the way that we treat them.
No veterans should be homeless.
Right. Just the idea that someone puts their life on the line. I mean, puts their life on the line for us, and we don't work harder than we do when they come back home to bring them home well and help them with the services that they need. Oftentimes it's mental health services. They have been through trauma.
We can't imagine.
How can you imagine when your life is hanging in the balance like that, and when you may be called upon
to take a life.
Right.
I saw something on social media a couple weeks ago where there was a veteran who he was a sniper, and he was saying that he kept seeing I guess you call them targets maybe, going back and forth between between shelter and like a military assault rifle. They kept walking back and forth, and finally he shot him. He said most of the time they don't get to see their targets after they shoot them, but for whatever reason they were traveling in that direction, and it was a child. And it just tore him to pieces. He was like 12 or 13 years old. So I just can't imagine having to try to reacclimate yourself to society after experiencing something like that. And we just need to do a much better job of taking care of veterans.
We have to. So I was just so thrilled that and meeting with the veterans and talking with them and them, observing what what I stand for and what I'm looking to do in my role as mayor, that they felt that my platform, my commitment, my values were aligned with them and their needs and what their, just so honored to have that.
That's definitely,
Yeah.
that's like a badge of honor.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm so excited to know that I'll have an opportunity to work closely with them to really help make some things happen.
Yes.
It's fine. It's one thing for things to line up in terms of what you what you talk about, what you want to do. But at the end of the day, it's about taking some action to really help that change come about.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to working with them.
Mr. Congo says all the time, and I've quote this all the time, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. So
Very true.
Yes.
So bringing it back to the city, how would you change kind of the status quo of some of the things that you have noticed in different districts? I think a lot of times people unfairly put you in a box and say that, well, she's just going to be for black people, or she's just going to be for...
She's just going to be for the 2nd or 3rd district,
she's
not
gonna
the
be
7th
for
or
poor
8th
people.
district.
So like, what have you
Right.
observed, just kind of being out of government, what have you observed that you would try to make some change to in the different, maybe in the 7th or the 8th, or in different districts?
Well, I think it in many ways emanates from what we talked about earlier. It's hearing real time what's going on in all 8 of the districts and making a best effort to address them all. Because everybody in this city has a stake in how we are as a whole. And so it's listening first and foremost and allowing input. That's one of the things that from hearing from and talking with people in the 7th and in the 8th district and across the city, but particularly in those districts, because there have been some, I'd say, sizable projects like the Gibraltar project, like the reservoir, and others, where the feedback that I've received as I'm talking with them is that, like, basically they just wanted an opportunity to be heard, and heard in a way that it's not just a formality to make it seem as if you're giving them a voice, but in a way that's real and that takes into consideration what's important to them as residents of that area. So that's what I've observed is that first and foremost, just really listening to hear and in a serious way that to seriously take into account like what their views are, what things are important to them, and those are a couple of the things that are.
And I was guilty of this when I first started on council, of not understanding, because I was always in the 2nd district. For the first 12 years I was in the 2nd district, and I didn't understand that. And living in the 2nd district, I saw kind of firsthand like the crime and the homicides. I just saw it firsthand, and it was like, okay, this is what's important. And not understanding that what is in the 7th and in the 8th district is just as important to them. It might not be crime as much, but there are things that are over in those districts that are really important to their quality of life. And they deserve to be heard just as much as everyone else does.
Exactly.
So I didn't catch on to that for a while, honestly, because I just had it in my mind like, okay, this isn't as important as that, but it really is.
It is.
Because that's where they live, that's where they're raising their families, and they deserve to be heard just like just like the rest of the city. So we shouldn't take it for granted that they might be a little bit better off financially, or
that everything's okay. That they don't have. There's nothing that they have concern. And I think that's, to me, why this infrastructure that's in place is so helpful, because I could in my mind also see the tendency to, I mean, when there are shootings, those things, you know, when there are crisis kinds of things, those things naturally have to rise to the top for that moment and for a certain level of tension. And if you're not careful, one could very easily find themselves in sort of crisis mode. You're managing and responding to all these things that are happening here and not pay attention, not be attentive to those other areas. And so it is important.
It is.
And I think having a connection with the community through civic associations, through being present and visible all across the city helps keep you, you know, kind of grounded in that frame of reference of the holistic aspect of the city. And so, yeah, that's hugely important.
It is. And that's what I'll bring to the table because I have the opportunity to sit with the leaders of the neighborhood planning councils from all of the other districts. So I know the concern from the first district that's different than the 8th district. And the one thing that I love about it is that I'm there and like we talked about, like I listen and I'm learning and they have embraced me, those that been there for quite some time, that are very knowledgeable of things that are needed in the city and how to how to ask for them to get done, the proposals that they do for their different projects. So yeah, I'm excited about that part.
Yeah, and then also there are, I mean, that's one of the things that is so necessary for us to do. We've got to have much more unity across this city.
Yes.
And and there's so much to learn from one area to the next as well. And so, you know, I also think we have an opportunity to see things that are being done in one district that can be replicated in another and really help enhance what's happening there. We are so small as a city that that shame on us if we don't take advantage of that size, that smallness, and
there's
create
like a
the kind of
disconnect.
unity. Yeah, and we've got to get away from that.
We definitely have to reconnect. So how can people help?
So people can help by going on to my website. We have opportunities to volunteer, phone bank, canvassing, fundraising is always a way to help. And all of that can be done through our website, veldaformayor.com. This Saturday, actually, there is an event occurring, which frankly is...
was yesterday.
Oh, it was yesterday. Okay. Well.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the men.
Off, right?
But
With
share
the
what it
men,
was. Yeah.
Yes. So.
It throws us off too, don't worry.
Okay. So we will have had, by the time this airs, we will have had an event with men across the whole city coming together. So to this whole notion of unity and us coming together as, you know, as kind of a unified force for all people across the city, that's the spirit in which these men, by the time this is aired, will have come together from all over the city, all ethnicities, race, age, socioeconomic status, and every aspect of diversity that you can imagine, with almost a pass the mic kind of let's have a conversation about how we can help, how they can help move this city forward in, frankly, the 3 areas of focus for that I am focused on, helping the city become safe, smart, and empowered. And that's that spirit of unity and among men, I think it's just hugely important for just giving a boost of energy to us
Yes.
working together to make this
Right.
whole city better.
I love
Okay.
that because
Alright.
you're putting men in their, helping men get into their rightful positions that they deserve to
Yes.
be in. So,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, but none of this will be possible if you do not vote. So
That
it is so important that if you are not registered to vote, that you get registered. If you are registered, but you know people who are not, that you get them registered to vote. You might think that you can't vote because of past criminal situations, but you might be able to. So reach out to Ms. Velda. She gave you her website information, and just so she can help you kind of through that process of getting registered or finding out if you can still vote. Really important that that we just show up, and this isn't until September, but we are going to be talking about this monthly because it is so important that that she gets in office, that Waynna gets in office, and they cannot get in office without your support. I mean, you might have loved this interview, but we have to see your love in those voting booths on September the 10th. So that is extremely important.
Yes.
Don't assume that, oh, she got it, or she has it too, or that I might have it. Like, we really need you to come out and support it and vote and take people with you.
Yes.
I just can't stress the importance of that, because a lot of times we just don't show up in primaries when there's a primary. So I guess the election that people pay the most attention to is going to be in November.
Yes.
But before that happens, there is going to be an election to decide which Democrat is going to face a possible Republican opponent here locally. So that's the primary. That's September the 10th. So we need for you to show up in droves on September the 10th and be prepared and bring people with you, and just prepare ahead of time if you're not sure of your status of whether you can vote or not.
Yes, I can't reiterate that enough. I mean, that's where the rubber's going to meet the road, and that's we need you to come out, and for the kind of change that we want to see happen with our city, our state, with our government as a whole. We have to have your vote.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
This is a
you.
good one.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the conversation. We're going to have plenty of these, so I'm not sure if you are booked monthly yet, but if not, we are definitely going to have you on here at least once a month, and probably even more. Probably just give you your own time as it gets closer to the election, because it's really important that you get in there for the betterment of our city. So. Hopefully you enjoyed it, but be prepared for a whole lot more. We're going to keep on helping you to understand the importance of voting, of being involved, and of supporting Velda for our next mayor, and Waynna for our next city council person at large.
Thank you,
So
Trippi.
excited about that too.
You're running, aren't you?
Yes, I'm running. Yes, I'm running.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm running for president.
All right.
All right. Waynna, you want to take us out?
Of course I will.
Okay.
Once again, thank you so very much for tuning in. We cannot end the show without talking about pre-planning funerals.
Yes.
So real quickly, we plan all types of events, and it's so extremely important that you plan your funeral celebration.
Right.
So please give Kim a call at 302-652-8887, and we'll talk a little bit more about pre-planning as well.
Yes, we're going to do that next week. It's very important to not only plan it for yourselves, but for those who may be responsible for someone who's going to pass away.
And I want to say this because I've had someone that's very close to my family pass away. She's young. My granddaughter had a friend, so she's 18, so he's probably 18, 19, who just passed away. So don't think you have to be a certain age, like you have to be in your, I'm gonna say 60s, 70s, 80s. I'm saying that because I'm
You're hanging on to 50s, right?
No, but yeah. And if you have any questions about age, once again, you can give Kim a call at 302-652-8887. And of course, if you would like to be our guest on the show, please reach out to me at 302-521-7325. And as Trippi said before, let us know like what you want to see more of. So yes, Is that it?
I think that's it.
All right.
Great job, ladies.
Thank
and
you.
We will see you
And
next.
gentlemen,
Thank you. Thank
you're
you.
welcome.
God willing, we will see you next Sunday.
Good night.